Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I would like to share with you the undeniable fact that XRP is winning. Here's a headline from the Daily Hodl. A Boston consulting group says Ripple Tech often outperforms banks. Cites crypto as increasingly relevant in cross-border payments. Now, on the surface, that might sound a little bit weird. It did to me. I was like, wait a minute. Ripple technology is outperforming banks. Ripple technology is designed specifically to help banks. And in reading through this, I can only surmise that what they meant, it wasn't the way they wrote it. I think it probably really just wasn't precise enough. They meant Ripple technologies, it offers performance substantially better than what banks have without it, frankly. Because there's no other way to interpret it that makes any lick of sense, frankly. So regardless, it's positive. It was them acknowledging. I think they could have worded the way they I'll show you. I think they could have worded it better. Nonetheless, strong thumbs up for Ripple. And at the core of Ripple's business model, obviously, is XRP. And again, they're citing crypto as increasingly relevant. Well, like I keep saying on this channel, there is no other solution for the settlement portion of the train wreck of global cross-border payments. There just simply isn't. Humans haven't come up with anything else, and there may not be anything else. Probably not, frankly. I do want to be clear that I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write, just ever. I just like to make videos like this because I'm as interested in this as you. There's nothing extra super duper special about me. I just have fun time researching this, engaging with community members, and making YouTube videos. So I want to be clear, that's all it is. Before we go any further, also, if you would please delicately tap the like button, I would appreciate the support. And if you are a fan of the idea of Ripple technology outperforming freaking anything, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel because you will end up in good company. All right, in we go. The Boston Consulting Group, or BCG for short, say Ripple and other cross-border payments challengers often outperform banks in more than one key aspect. In a new report, the global management consulting firm says cryptocurrencies are increasingly relevant and that banks need to, quote, revamp their cross-border business practices to keep pace with new technology. Yeah, and no kidding. Here's some interesting point. David Schwartz brought this up, and I meant to mention it in a video I put out just the other day, but David Schwartz was talking, he was speaking to, I can't remember, he was speaking to, virtually at some college somewhere. And one of the points he made about adoption, I hadn't heard made in some time, and it never crosses my mind. But I was like, yeah, of course. And it's just not something that frequently enters my brain. But of course, I thought about it before. But it is a real thing. It's this idea of when you're talking about utilizing cryptocurrency for cross-border payment, the upside to utilizing RippleNet and specifically on-demand liquidity, which requires the usage of XRP as a bridge currency. Obviously, there are tremendous benefits in terms of efficiency of cost and speed, almost no energy used, especially when compared to other blockchains like Bitcoin. Undeniably better all-around experience for the banks implementing the process, and more importantly, their customers, frankly, right? And so part of the hesitance that some of these banks and remittance companies are having that have more global presences, it's that if you have super duper fast service in one corridor, because mind you, there's only a handful of corridors open where you can actually utilize XRP as a bridge currency because the whole system's still being built out, frankly. But imagine you're a customer and you have super duper fast experience and you're like, wow, this service is awesome. So then that's the expectation. But then the next time they go to move money around and it's somewhere else, they're like, what the hell's going on? And they want to poke the remittance company or bank with a stick. Like, hey, you, wake up. What's going on here? Our stuff's not moving fast, and it's way more expensive. So I get the concept. So for some, David Schwartz, David Schwartz being Ripple's CTO, co-creator of the XRP ledger, he has cited that as one of the concerns that companies have moving forward. Now, of course, there will always be certain newer companies that are like, well, screw that, I don't care, and they'll hone in on specific corridors. Maybe that's all they'll do to start, and they're just going to be rock stars in those. And then as there's new on-demand liquidity corridors open, if you're that concerned about it, then just go operate in those corridors as well. And then you're going to force the competition to jump in, or else they're going to lose the business anyway. But it's still interesting and just kind of a fun way of looking at things, which is it's like XRP's so awesome that we can't use it. It's like From my perspective, even if that is how some banks are looking at it, our remittance companies, whatever, any money transmitter, I'm just like, grow up, man. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. Like, serve your customers. If you're worried about the optics, I tell you that, in my humble opinion, the actual poor performance is worse than the optics of one corridor being faster than the other. Just saying. But here's a quote from BCG. Card networks, fintechs, and infrastructure providers such as Ripple and Earthport have entered the cross-border payment space in recent years. These challengers often outperform banks in speed, pricing, API integration, and the overall customer experience. To stay competitive, banks will need to challenge their approach. And that's where I take issue with the way they worded it. I get what they're trying to say, but because Ripple's not competing with banks. Ripple is a service provider for banks. Banks are their customers. So it would have been better to cite that banks that are competing against banks that use, one bank uses RippleNet, the other doesn't. Serious problem in terms of performance. You could clean that up. That was a stream of consciousness coming from Moon Lambo sloppily, but I think you got the cut of my jib. Anyway, the BCG also notes that the banks relying on the society... Oh, I love this. I never remember what SWIFT stands for, but every time I read it, I start chuckling at least a little bit because it sounds so stupid and old-timey. Here we go. And this is it. The BCG also notes that banks relying on the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial and Telecommunication, SWIFT... telecommunications, yes, the latest in telecommunications, blah, 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 blah. The legacy international payments messaging system will need to continually innovate. And to Swift's credit, they've been innovating, but again, they don't have a proposed solution for the settlement side of any of this. Period. They just don't. And here's a quote. Many banks have introduced Swift GPI to improve the speed and tracking of international payments. But with challengers providing convenient solutions like request to pay that facilitate remittance and reconciliation, banks need to continue refreshing their own offerings. This is also true. Now, Swift GPI, which stands for Global Payment Initiative, is a suite of cloud-based tools designed to increase the speed and transparency of international payments. And Swift is used by more than 11,000 financial institutions. And so you can think of Swift's GPI as being conceptually equivalent to what RippleNet does, but just the messaging portion of RippleNet. Which is, and it was easier to explain back when RippleNet was just known as Xcurrent, because Xcurrent, it was purely the messaging portion, and now when you say RippleNet, you could be just talking about the messaging portion, or you could be talking about the whole package, which includes on-demand liquidity and thus XRP as a bridge currency. So, still, from a branding perspective, when you're targeting customers, better approach. So Ripple rebranding made a ton of sense. It's more like just for me or anybody in the world of crypto that wants to parse out the differences more easily verbally. It's not quite as clean, but that's okay. They still made the right move. Anyway, in its global payments report, BCG also notes that banking consortiums can alleviate the, quote, significant investment costs associated with blockchain-enabled cross-border payments. So all good things in time, and it is good to see that Ripple is being acknowledged for the awesome sauce platform that it is for its customers. Now take a look at this, and shout out to BondCrypt XRP for sending this my way. This was cool, and this was completely under the radar. Seriously. Check this out. Remember we've been talking about how China is going to launch the first central bank digital currency ever, and they're on the cusp of doing it? Well, not anymore. The Bahamas launches world's first central bank digital currency, the Sand Dollar, and this is coming from Cointelegraph. How about that? And it's nobody's really picking up on this story because it's the Bahamas. Anyway, it's a central bank digital currency and it freaking launched. So the Central Bank of the Bahamas has announced the country's Sand Dollar, a state-backed virtual currency, is now available nationwide. According to an October 20th Facebook post from Project Sand Dollar, the central bank digital currency, or CBDC for short, became available to all 393,000 residents of the Bahamas from roughly 10 p.m. UTC. This makes the Bahamas the first country in the world to officially roll out a central bank digital currency. How about that? They freaking beat China out of nowhere. And because it's the Bahamas, it's like, okay, so fine, Cointelegraph reported on it, but nobody's talking about this. The market didn't notice. And here we are. So I just kind of got a laugh. I was like, oh, I didn't even know the Bahamas, that was like a thing that they were working on. Never once seen this in the news, just snuck up on us out of nowhere. But I think that pretty much every central bank on the planet eventually will have their own central bank digital currency, because in terms of, even if it were just purely for the ease of moving your fiat currency around the planet, even if just for that, it already makes sense. Because the digital forms of the United States dollar and the Chinese yuan, they're digital fine, but clunky to move around. It is more clunky, and there can be other benefits, which I've talked about a little bit on this channel. In fact, it could make reporting taxes easier, potentially. Also, possible, depending on the way it's programmed, to make it easier to get a little bit more invasive in terms of what are the people utilizing this particular central bank currency, digital currency, actually doing with it, which is a legitimate concern as well. But anyway, there we are. That's it for this video, though. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!